The boys are back. It's time for Quiz Madness as Mark and David get to grips with wang licking.
We'll offer you the perfect solution for dealing with crying babies.
What happened when a private joke between friends ended up going viral on Twitter?
And back by popular demand, our world-famous listicles.
All this and a whole lot more on the almost 30-minute quiz show. And it seems like only 2 weeks since we were last here. How are you doing, Mark?
Yes, not too bad. Not too bad.
I'm
excited, though.
I'm extremely excited because, ladies and gentlemen, after 3 episodes of the almost 30-minute quiz show, we finally...
You had to work hard on that,
I
didn't you?
did. It's a hard
after 4 episodes, you still don't remember the name of the show that we put.
I am delighted to say that we have... You've got mail.
Yeah, we got a fan letter.
Go for it.
Okay. Dear Mark and David, I consider myself your best fan, and if anybody else says otherwise, they're effing liars. Please, can you send me a signed photo, preferably naked, for my collection? I've been sitting in my car outside of David's house every night for the last 3 weeks. The police just don't understand what a superfan is. Although most of what you say is shit, perhaps I don't understand it. Your dulcet tones just do it for me. Love you both. I would do anything for you guys. You know that. Your friend always, Sir Arthur Pewty. Isn't that sweet?
It is. Now, is it real?
I don't know. I looked up Sir Arthur Pewty and I couldn't find him. I think it may be a sort of...
reference to Monty Python?
Is it?
Arthur Pewty is in Monty Python. It's I think Arthur Pewty is the one who wants to become a lion tamer. He's an accountant. He's very, very dull and boring and wants to become a lion tamer. I'm pretty sure that's Arthur Pewty.
I'll have to look that one up properly.
But anyway, we do happen to know that it is a genuine fan out there because we conversed with them afterwards. And so thank you very much indeed, Arthur.
So if anybody else would like to send us fabulous fan mail like that, the address is almostthirtyquiz@gmail.com. David, how else can everybody get hold of us?
Twitter @almostquiz. Facebook, look up the Almost 30 Quiz Show. And Instagram, the Almost 30-Minute Quiz. And Mark, I'd just like to point out that you created most of those accounts. Not one of them has the same name as the other.
Yeah, it's a bit late, unfortunately, once you start doing it, to change it all. On my next lesson, hopefully on social media, I'll learn how to edit the name of a quiz.
Okay.
So for this week, those are our social media addresses.
And if anybody wants to listen to this who isn't already, and people are asking you, where can I get this?
You can listen to us on Stitcher, on Spotify, on iTunes, Castbox, Google Pods, and any other good podcast app.
As they say. Okay.
And, by the way, if you press subscribe, it will come automatically into your inbox every 2 weeks on these apps. So make sure you do that.
Okay, and after we've given you all of that, let's get on with the questions. Now, remember, we're going to pose to you 5 questions, and you can pause the source that you're listening to this, have a go at answering the questions yourself, and then after the break, we'll come back and start answering them one after another. So, question number 1, Mark.
In the 1973 film Soylent Green, what is the food made from?
Question 2. Conguito candies made the news this week. Why?
Question number 3. What did Yoshi Takeshita do for a living? I may have mispronounced that.
Which TV chef's Italian restaurant chain closed, costing him £25 million?
And number 5. What was XTC's first top 40 single in 1979?
We'll discuss all of those after this. Question number 1. In the 1973 film Soylent Green, what is the food made from, Mark?
Pasta?
Well, no.
No. The actual answer is human beings. I don't know if anybody saw the film Soylent Green. I think it had Edward G. Robinson in it. It's a 1973 film in an environment where people only have a limited amount of time left to live. The world is too crowded, and they come up with a solution to murder people and turn them into food.
How very appropriate. So let's just listen to this young lady speaking at a political gathering in the United States of America.
a Swedish professor saying that we can eat dead people, but that's not fast enough. So I think your next campaign slogan has to be this: we got to start eating babies. We don't have enough time. There's too much CO2. All of you, you're pollutant. Too much CO2. We have to start now, please. You are so great. I'm so happy that you're really supporting the Green Deal, but it's not enough. Even if we would bomb Russia, we still have too many people, too much pollution. So we have to get rid of the babies. That's a big problem. Just stopping having babies is not enough. We need to eat the babies, and this is very serious. Please give a response.
Thank you. No, thank you.
Mark, what do you think?
No, I agree with her. I think it's about time we took some babies, chopped them up, add onions, shallots.
Okay, without freaking people out, what would be the best way to have a baby? To eat a baby?
You really need me to explain that one now?
No,
to have a baby?
No, to eat a baby.
To eat a baby.
Sautéed, microwaved.
I don't know, you can't get them in the microwave normally. You try, but you have to take the legs off first.
Yeah, okay, so before we actually turn everybody off this podcast, does this young woman have a point? Forget whether she's mad or not, and clearly nobody in their right mind is suggesting we eat babies, but are we getting to the point of no return, which is what young people today, campaigners on the left particularly, are claiming?
Are we reaching the point of no return? I think you've really got to be off one end of the scale if you think there's nothing happening. Those people that say there is no climate change, it's all put in there as a method for taxation and control. I think there are thousands and thousands of scientists out there who have shown that there is an upcoming problem with the environment and we need to take steps. But if you look at governments around the world, certainly in Europe, they're looking to try and have zero carbon environments within the next 30, 40 years. The question is that quick enough? And is there any point doing that if the biggest polluters in the world in China and America make no effort to reduce their environmental footstep?
I'm just going to parenthetically put aside the discussion about the fact that a lot of the leading campaigners fly to rallies and so on in their private jets, etc. I think it's worth mentioning again parenthetically, but I don't think that
is this your new word for the week? Parenthetically.
It is. It's something I learned from Americans because we say brackets and they say parentheses. Anyway, I think that is not the issue, even though that is debated a lot and is used a lot by people on the right as a way of avoiding the subject by saying, well, you're a bunch of hypocrites. But at the end of the day, there is a real problem, whether it is the result of human beings and human activities, or whether it is just something that is happening in nature at the moment. I think it behooves all of us.
That's two words in a week.
I think it behooves all of us to bear in mind the impact that our actions have on the environment and on people around us. And I think that we should, as individuals and of course as a community, take steps to try to reduce the impact that we have on the area around us.
I read something nice this week that said it's taken until now for society to realise that it takes less energy to wash up a glass than it does to manufacture plastic cups out of petrol, extract the oil out of the ground, etc., etc. So I know at my workplace we removed single-use plastics from the workplace, but I think the problem with that is a lot of people don't go with it because the campaigns are so hardcore and this must stop tomorrow that people don't come along, and this is where you get some of the denial from.
So let's look at it from the other side. I tend to agree with you, but governments are elected or if they are in a democracy, governments are only around for 3, 4, 5 years. And all of the promises that are made beyond the date of the next election cannot be taken seriously by a concerned electorate.
Well, I mean, as a campaigning party wanting to be in government, you can say, I will carry on this work. And people, when it's long-term work that's going to take 30, 40 years, you would be expected to do that. But it is a very difficult thing for a government to come in and say, we're going to take steps and exact steps to fix the environment, because no one really knows the exact impact of what they're doing. By throwing away plastic cups, by having meatless Mondays, by cutting down the amount of emissions in the centre of cities, no one can really say this is going to close the hole in the ozone layer.
Agreed. On the other hand, there are other things that we are doing from an environmental perspective, not necessarily to do with climate change, that are clearly terrible. So you're talking about single use and so on, and how much water are we using and detergent to clean our cups rather than using one-offs. But if you look at what is happening in the oceans and you see the wildlife, the sea life, getting caught up in islands of plastic waste, particularly in the areas between China and India and so on, that is horrific. And you cannot see that improving unless we take it upon ourselves to do something.
As a vegetarian,
that's me.
You obviously wouldn't eat children.
I don't know, children aren't animals. Maybe I would.
Oh, okay. Because what my suggestion for you as a vegetarian would be to eat some sort of non-meat alternative. So if you've got a plastic human, maybe that plastic woman in your cupboard.
Here's the drum roll.
Question number 2 was, Conguito candies made the news this week. Why? David?
Somebody ate a Conguito candy while they were doing a YouTube live, choked on it, and it's been viewed by 30 million people since.
Correct.
Okay.
No, not at all. But you're right with the social media bit.
It's the sort of thing that would happen, that instead of going to call 911 or 999, somebody would actually continue filming themselves doing it.
I've been near someone who fell into a swimming pool and the person next to me got out their camera and filmed it.
Did you jump in?
No.
Okay, so what's the story with Conguito candies?
Okay, Conguito candies made the news this week because a Manchester City footballer called Bernardo Silva took the logo from Conguito's candies and tweeted it next to a picture of a friend of his, Benjamin Mendy, who also plays for Manchester City, and put the two pictures together and said...
What's on the logo?
Conguito candies are chocolate covered. You get the white chocolate covered one and dark chocolate covered one. The dark chocolate covered one has a little brown baby with red lips.
Okay, and he put the two together.
And said, guess who?
And so the meaning was...
They look alike.
Alike, when Benjamin Mendy was a kid.
To which Benjamin Mendy replied, 1-0 to you, brother.
In other words, funny.
Funny, that's good.
Okay.
However, this was done on Twitter.
Not good.
Not good.
When you are famous.
Correct. And seen by lots and lots of people who said, not good. To which Bernardo Silva then went, you guys, this was supposed to be funny, or something along those lines. And now he's been charged with aggravated racial abuse by the Football Association and could end up with a 6-game ban.
Now, the manager of the team, the coach, Pep Guardiola, very famous guy, probably the world's best manager, said, I'm pretty sure it was Pep, who said that you should know that Bernardo Silva speaks 4 languages, he's a great guy, and so on. It's Pep Guardiola cheapening this by saying he can't be a racist because he's an intelligent guy.
I think that was a poor argument. I mean, I think the feeling is that people who know the player, he's a really lovely guy, and that's what they're trying to say. He's an educated guy. When you read football journalists talking about this, they say he's the one player that stops and will give them as much time as they need, will speak to them, he's very friendly.
None of which means he's not a racist.
No. Well, actually, it could mean he's not a racist, but it means he may be ignorant of what certain types of racism are.
So much for being educated.
Yeah, but if you look at what he did, this was to a black friend of his who found it funny. So if he has a friend who is black who finds it funny, why would he think it's racist?
So just to explain, some of the older football players, including black players, including those who advocate against racism, actually said they didn't have a particular problem with this. They didn't see it as racist. most of the football writers out there have said they don't believe Bernardo Silva is racist. Those people who are active today as footballers or as writers have said, though, that they believe he should go through some form of educational correction and training to understand. Explain this a bit more, give it more of a broader context.
Okay. Just in terms of the people that came out on his side, there was a footballer called John Barnes, a soccer player from the 80s, a black soccer player who was one of the first prominent black players to play for England and who received a lot of abuse. And after he retired, he became quite a prominent campaigner against racism in football. He came out and said, do you know what? Actually, they do look a bit alike. I don't think there's a problem with saying that. If Benjamin Mendy is happy with it, then why should we be making a fuss of it? Raheem Sterling, who plays for Manchester City, another black footballer who has spent a lot of time talking to the media about his portrayal, because the media like to tell stories about Raheem Sterling when he was young, his involvement with guns, the fact that he has a gun tattoo on him, and a lot of racial stereotypes about black players that, here's a black player with money, look what he's doing with his money, he's wasted. So a lot of people have come out and said this isn't racist.
We should also say about Raheem Sterling is that he has been racially abused in football games when playing for his own for England.
Yeah, even by his own fans.
And we should also add that he has come out very bravely to speak against racism in the game. Yeah. But he also has come to the defence of Bernardo Silva. But
against that, you've got the commentariat, the journalists out there who are predominantly white. And one of the biggest problems within football is it's a white male sort of dominated arena when it comes to journalism.
Yeah, they just sort of forced the English national hand by appointing a couple of deputy coaches to be part of the training team for the national squad. But that was more because of pressure and feeling we have to do the right thing rather than it being a natural process. Throughout soccer in the UK, there are very few black managers.
I think there were 4 or 5 within the top 92 clubs,
right, and
where the playing staff were probably 30 to 40% black. Or minority.
And ethnic. The same goes for Muslim and so on and so forth. It's just
no. With Muslim football players, you're probably British Muslim football players. There's less than a handful.
Right.
And if you think that's 92 clubs and squads of 30.
What can we say about big picture here? Can we learn anything, extrapolate anything from this issue with Bernardo Silva and Manchester City to broader society?
For me, this was about, and I'm white and very middle class, and David's probably reasonably middle class as well, although he doesn't dress like it. I
moved up from working class. I moved up.
Yeah, my father were working class.
Or across. It's not. Do you know what? Yeah. It's not right to say moved up. I moved from working class to middle class.
Oh no, I moved up. We got a garden instead of a yard. No, I think going back to this issue, I think society in some places has moved on. Certainly in Britain, I don't think racism is the issue it was 20, 30 years ago when players were out there and fans were throwing bananas at them. That happens very rarely. I mean, a manager had a cabbage thrown at him, but I think that was something else altogether. So I think, to shout racism in this particular case is a bit harsh. But, for me, I think the player needs to understand if you're on social media and you're sending stuff like this, learn how to direct message.
Let us know your thoughts. Email us almostthirtyquiz@gmail.com, and you can tweet us at almostquiz. Welcome back to the Almost 30-Minute Quiz Show with Mark and myself, David. Mark, what did Yoshi Takeshita do for a living?
Yoshi Takeshita, I think, was a toilet repairer.
There's all sorts of possibilities, but what we are going to be doing over the next few minutes is looking at bizarre names of sports people. And Yoshi Takeshita played volleyball in Japan, and these days is a coach.
Correct, and won the bronze medal at the London 2012 Olympics.
For the silliest name.
And volleyball.
Yes. So what we're going to do, because this be our listicle section. Arr. So yes, this is where we give you a list of the top something. And right now we're going to give you the list of, and there are millions of them, so we can do this week after week. But the top...
In fact, we might well do
if we spend too much time talking about each one. Top silly names of sports people, and Mark will lead us off.
Okay, we start with rugby player Faraj Fartas.
Can you imagine what it must be like to be in a scrum or a scrimmage with somebody of that name?
Ironically,
Yes.
on the list, there's a picture of him with his trousers. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't play front row.
Yeah.
Next, and this one I'm going to sort of question, but we're talking about the pitcher, Steve Sharts. Now, why do you think that's funny?
Do you know what a shart is?
You see, I call it a squirt.
Well, it's like a fart where you just follow through a bit.
Yes, but I call it a...
It's only a squirt if you've got problems.
Well, no, because it's a...
Anyway,
Yes.
number 3.
Sorry, a squat, not a squirt. A squat. I can't do it.
Yes, that's like I'm saying, squirt, you've got
yes.
problem. Go and see a urologist.
Go on, your turn. Hockey.
Hockey player, Dick Paradise.
One of my favourites, the soccer player, Ralph Minge.
This one needs a bit of pronunciation. Female basketball player, Dewanna Bonner. But it's spelled Bonner, B-O-N-N-E-R. Dewanna Bonner.
Poor woman. Poor woman. Ivana Mandic, who, what did she play?
Say it in the accent. Ivana Mandic.
Oh, Ivana Mandic.
Yes.
Did I say it wrong?
Yeah, you said it probably correctly.
I'm
then
doing
it's
it
not
straight,
funny.
yes. What does she play? She basketball.
Basketball.
Yeah.
Table tennis player, Wang Licking.
It's NASCAR racer.
Yep.
Dick Trickle, GP. Really.
Another one for a urologist.
No, you can't say this one. You cannot. I am going to hit the button, the E button.
Okay. Baseball player, Rusty Kuntz. Spelled K-U-N-T-Z.
Oh, Mark. Volleyball player, Destiny Hooker.
American footballer, Dick Felt.
And the person that we mentioned way back at the start, the female volleyball player from Japan, Yoshitaka Shita.
This is my favourite. Basketball player for the Philadelphia Kings, Chubby Cox.
I wonder what his real first name is. Do you think it's going to be...
Oh, I thought it was a surname that's made up.
Footballer, Dan Shittu.
Summed him up. He
So
played
he
for
was-
Watford.
Yes, yeah. Was he? Did you ever watch him?
Yeah, I think he played for Millwall as well.
Was he any good?
He was solid. Yeah, anyway.
Yes.
Baseball pitcher. Oh, no, he was a manager. Dick Sizzler.
I notice if somebody's called Richard, they
They're
are
automatically dicked.
buggered. Yes.
No. Oh,
Yes. And another footballer or soccer player by the name of Berntas.
this is my favourite.
You've already had a favourite.
I know, but they just keep getting better. This is an athlete for the Seychelles called Gaylord Silly. It's almost like his parents named him for shows
And have
like
you
this.
noticed that he runs the 800 metres sort of 5 seconds slower than everybody else?
Although he almost caught Nimet Gashi. I didn't even see that.
And footballer in England by the name of Dean Windass.
Okay, this is a really good one and appropriate for the sport. Swimmer, Misty Hyman.
Andrew Arshaven.
I think it's pronounced Arshavin.
Oh,
He
but
played-
you told me off before.
No, I know.
Played for
Played for
Arsenal.
Arsenal.
Yes.
And what was his manager called? Arsene Wenger.
Last two.
Legendary American footballer for the Chicago Bears, Dick Butkus.
And finally, this is a guy which actually amazed me. What did he play?
He's a linebacker, so American football.
Ah, there you go. By the name of Luscious Pussy.
Could be pronounced Poozy.
We'll go with Luscious Pussy, and we'll go with the drum roll.
Question number 4. Which TV chef's Italian restaurant chain closed down, costing him £25 million?
Was he Italian?
Nope.
He's
He's an English chef.
Yeah.
That sold books all over the world.
Lord, I hate all these TV chefs.
I actually had a job interview for him.
Twist. Oliver.
No.
Oliver.
Yeah, close.
Oliver. Olivetti. Olive.
No, Oliver's his surname. And his first name
Can't
is
remember.
Jamie.
Oh,
Jamie Oliver.
Yeah.
He didn't
Okay.
give me the job, so yeah.
Anyway.
If I'd have worked for him, he wouldn't have gone out.
That brings us very nicely onto our
Review section.
yay.
David, what are we doing this week?
We're doing restaurants.
Excellent.
Okay, here's the first review. These are reviews that we're taking from the internet. They are real, genuine reviews.
On TripAdvisor.
From
all of it.
TripAdvisor. Are they all TripAdvisor this
Yeah.
week? Okay. It doesn't mean that necessarily what's been written in them is true, and we're not mentioning the names of the restaurants so as to avoid prosecution. I write this from my phone while sitting on the toilet because I ate here 2 hours ago and now cannot stop pooping. I got a steak bowl since for some reason the geniuses in the kitchen didn't cook enough chicken and they ran out. There was a long line of people waiting for chicken from the kitchen and I figured I'd just get steak rather than wait. The joke's on me. Now I'm suffering from some pretty violent sprays, and my bathroom sounded like the scene from Dumb and Dumber where Harry dominated the bathroom with his laxative-fueled explosion of painful diarrhea. Chipotle steak has caused a dark, thick river of hate to come out of me that Vigo the Carpathian would be proud of. No janitor and no toilet deserves what's happening here. 3 stars, because at least the guacamole tasted good.
This one actually got three stars as well. Great restaurant, shame about the midgets. I wish we hadn't gone. The meal was ruined by midgets everywhere, and we were sitting inside. We even moved tables nearer the back wall, but we were either followed by them or they were at the table too. We woke up the following morning covered in bites and very itchy.
Do we need to explain?
Go on, just in case.
Okay, in case you don't know, midges are normally in Scotland. They come out at night and they bite you. They're called midges, not midgets. Sorry for having to explain that. That was for the non-Brits. 1 star. Visited here with a friend, and whilst I was away from the table, he complained that the blonde barmaid farted on him. Thinking he was joking, I took no notice. Next time she came to collect glasses, she clearly spun around and crop dusted us with a terrible smell. Absolutely bizarre and disgusting.
And finally, horrible. And there might be a little bit of bad language in here. I'm very sorry. I'm not that sorry. As my friend just said, my arsehole's on fire. It feels like I've been bent over and have had hot chili oil shoved up my bum for hours. Anyway, I've never reviewed, but my taste buds, wallet, and butthole say I need to. The service was horrible, and the food was disgusting. The watery sauce clearly came from a toilet, and there was friendlier service at Auschwitz. Don't ever go there unless you want to shit for days.
And finally, on this edition of the almost 30-minute quiz show, Mark, question 5. What was XTC's first top 40 single in 1979?
Finally, one I know the answer to, and probably the only single that I ever knew XTC brought out, but apparently they had 6 top 40 singles. We're only making plans for Nigel.
And this is relevant to today's news because...
Apparently, this week, there was the world's biggest gathering of Nigels, which attracted 433 Nigels to a Nigel conference at the Fleece Inn in Worcestershire.
Why?
Well, the organizer is a landlord of the pub called Nigel Smith, and he found out that in 2016 there were no births registered under the name of Nigel
In the UK.
So he made plans for a Nigel conference.
How was it covered by the media?
There's a lovely picture in the Metro newspaper. It has a picture of the 433 Nigels. If I read the caption below, it says, pictured are Nigel, 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 Nigel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next week. Nigel, 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 Nigel.